Well, hello there, and thank you for joining us here at Coolest Life. My name is Tony, and I'm here to take you through a little upgrade I made. At least I think it's an upgrade. I want to take you through what a Vacuflush is, kind of how it works, and what I did to replace mine. I didn't replace mine with another Vacuflush though. I did some work on my Vacuflush and replaced the plunger pump, O-rings, and I really should have replaced the duckbills. I'm going to take you through all that and what it entails and how difficult it is and everything. So stick along with us because you just entered the coolest life, a DIY edition. So what is a vacuum flush? A vacuum flush is basically in place. Some people have them in their boats. Some people have them in their RVs. I've got mine in my RV. You basically don't need one unless you get two toilets. I've got two toilets in my RV, and instead of having two black tanks, you would put a vacuum flush on. Maybe you're the one that's not used as much. Normally, the one in the rear of the coach instead of the one up front of the coach. Whichever one is the furthest away from your black tank is typically where it goes. So that there's actually two holding tanks. So you've got a holding tank for your black tank, and then you've got a separate holding tank for where your vacuum flush is going to go. So toilet stuff goes into the toilet, gets in a holding tank, and a vacuum flush takes it from this holding tank and pushes it to the next holding tank. I'm going to show you a little bit about what this is right now. Let me get this thing, this camera here turned around so you can look at it. So this is the vacuum flush that I removed. Essentially, let me turn these around because I know how this goes in there because I took it out. Wastewater goes in here. There's a pump in here that goes up and down, and then it goes out this way here. So you've got a black tank on this side, which is where your toilet initially lets it sit, and this vacuum pump is just that it creates a vacuum is what it does. I'm going to show you this right here, show you kind of how this works. So this is just a cover, and this is the vacuum flush I've got right here. So this motor basically pumps it up and down. Now most vacuum flushes are set up so that it works on resistance, and this pump is basically set up inside where if it goes up and down and gets too much resistance, as in there's too much vacuum inside the system, it will stop. And that's the way it's supposed to work. But it doesn't necessarily, because if you get any kind of air leakage in your system, it will release that air pressure, and then this thing will just run and run and run and run and run and run and run. So what some people will do is they will get a switch, a turn on switch on and off. So basically they flush the toilet, they push the lever on their toilet, and then what they'll do is they'll flip a switch. And that's what I did on mine. It's on the wall. So you flip the switch and you turn it on. Well, since I was already doing that anyway, I replaced this with a Maceator. But let me get to that in just a minute. So this basically works now. All this pump does is go up and down. Okay, all it does is go up and down. What really causes it to work is these. These are called duckbills. See why they call them duckbills? See, that's got a hole in there. So it kind of looks like a duckbill. It opens up like that. So this causes items to go in one direction and only one direction. You will typically find four of these. One is going to go here between these two pieces here. One is going to go on the end. One is going to go, I believe it's here. And one is going to go here. So you can unscrew this piece here and see it through. So you're not going to have one at the end, but you're going to have one. This is going to go inside, and it's got an extra rim around it. So it gives you a nice rubber seal between this piece and this piece. So this is going to go inside, not this direction. You unscrew this, and then this is going to go into that piece, and then you screw it together. Same thing here, same thing here, same thing here. So basically, if you have to replace these, they are a pain in the butt, let me tell you. Now, this is a regular pump. These have got screws here. If you ever have to replace this pump here, which is basically this, and it's basically, for the most part, it's just a plunger that goes up and down is all this is. There's a rubber plunger inside. See, there's a empty space here. This turns, and when it does that, it brings this up and down, up and down, up and down, because this is offset. So it's going to bring this up and down. It's creating that force, but when it does that, it's going to open up as this goes. It's going to suck your stuff in this way, and it's going to force it out that way. So that's how it goes. So these keep the backwash from going back. It keeps it from going back. That's when that pump closes, so does the pressure. The pressure is going to squeeze this thing here together, stuff build together, and your stuff isn't going to go back that way. It only creates it, lets it go one direction. So you don't need kind of paddle wheel or anything like that. So that's basically how this pump works. Also, if you replace these, there is an O-ring that lies underneath here. So you take out all these screws, and there's a big giant O-ring that goes around this piece here. The other thing I will say is if you ever replace this piece here, sometimes there's two C's that go in there also. So basically there's a clamp in a sense. There's one here and there's one here. So these two C's come together and they form a protective area here. And the C's are about that wide and they're about that thick. So they actually clamp onto the side of this jug. And I say jug because this thing here is a plunger. I'll have to show you a picture of that plunger. Show you what that looks like right there. So you can see it kind of clamps around. And then it slides down in here. Your O-ring goes around here. The big O-ring, it's like an 8-inch O-ring. And then your screws go in. And it is a pain in the butt to get to. When you take all this out, you probably want to remove these. There's 4 screws here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm actually missing mine down here. Took it out and lost it. But that's basically how that works. Now, what did I replace it with? Well, this, I don't have a picture of mine. I actually threw out my box, and I don't want to take up my floor to show you my Maceator pump or Macerator pump. As you can see, the correct spellings right there. Macerator, Maceator, whatever you want to call them. Anyway, this Maceration pump, essentially, bad stuff goes in that end, and then it comes out this hose here. You can see this is a hookup like you would find on an RV. So a lot of people actually use this when they're there to clean out an RV to actually cause pressure. Excuse me. Because these actually do cause a pressure flow to go that way. When this pump starts turning, it actually creates a suction coming this way. So that's basically it. And you see there's all different kinds of configuration. This shows you the other end piece here that we're staring at right here. You can see how it goes. Mine actually has this, and then it has another piece that goes on the end that makes it look more like this one. That makes it look more like this one here. So there are different configurations that you can find with these. See if this in here will come up. Hey, it didn't. So that you can see that piece at the end is a little different configuration. That's basically what I have, is that one right there. And of course you've got some lead wires here, so you need to hook that to a 12 volt. Now, why did I get this instead of replacing mine? Well, to replace a Vacuflush is $600. This is 60 bucks. No brainer. This thing goes bad, I just replace it. It's 60 bucks. It was my biggest heartache with it was my Vacuflush has got 2 ends. It's in here and it goes out here. Well, since it comes out here, that means I had to get some adapters and make it come back around here and tie into my hose. So that was kind of a pain in the butt. My hoses are getting older, so I had to replace some of my extender hoses and stuff. So that's what that is, and that's what that does. Now, when you do flush, this won't come on like it's not a straight replacement for a Vacuflush, because unless you have one of those switches, as I mentioned. So as long as you got that switch installed, you flush the toilet, you let it go down, basically some water, everything will back up in this end. Your number 2s will all back up in here, and your number 1s will all back up in here, and you need to hit that switch so it will start pumping and pump all that mess to your main black tank. But so far I've had mine on it about a week now. It's worked great, no issues. My wife doesn't mind it running. It's probably maybe a little quieter than the Vacuflush because you don't hear that plump, 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 plump. And the motor, basically you just hear a motor running. And she says my wife says once you get used to it, you can tell when it's done pumping, because the motor on it will wind a little more, as if it's empty. So that's what I did with mine. I replaced my Vacuflush with a Maceration pump. Looks basically like that one there. So if you have any questions, leave your comments down below. I'll be happy to answer them. I've gotten a bunch of comments on other videos, and I don't have a problem at all answering those. I typically answer all of them. I've always responded with a thumbs up, doing good, or trying to give you some advice on what's going on with this particular system, but I was able to replace my Vacuflush with a maceration system or maciation system, whatever. I don't know what the pronunciation is. I really don't care. All I know is it only run me $60, and I was able to do it myself with the help of Ace Hardware and Home Depot, and getting those extra pieces I needed so that it would connect just right. And I got a few more connection pieces in there than I wanted to use, but they're on there pretty tight, and I'm pretty happy with them. I actually got some clear hose so I can see the poop move. Yeah, I know it's gross like that, but it's a good thing. It's just like if you at the end of you're in your RV and you get that 90-degree turn as it goes down in the toilet. Should I say in the septic system or whatever they use here for the city sewer. Um, you have that hose come out of your RV and you have it go. You get a clear 90 degrees so you can watch things go through. So you know that it's not backing up and it's looking like it's supposed to look. You see some toilet paper go down and those kind of things. Anyway, hope this helps, and maybe just maybe you might decide to go ahead and get a one of these systems and get rid of that Vacuflush, because right now I'm really glad I did. I had nothing but problems with that Vacuflush. I haven't replaced the plunger. I should have replaced the duckbills when I didn't. Probably would have helped it run better, but it just kept leaking. So it'd find a place to leak. That O-ring, a big 8-inch O-ring was my main culprit. Just didn't want to lay in there like it should. Anyway, I'm gonna let you go. Be sure to like, subscribe, send this to your friends who are considering replacing their Vacuflush with a maceration system. Anyway, I'll see you on down the road because I need to get back out here living the coolest life, DIY edition.